The morning sun peeked through the tall glass buildings of downtown as Maya stepped out of her car. She checked her watch, 8:45 a.m., 15 minutes early for her big meeting. Perfect. Maya had worked her whole life for moments like this. At 35, she wasn't just any business owner. She was the head of a company that was changing how people used computers. Today could be huge. Westfield Technologies was an old company with lots of money and customers, and they wanted to talk about working together. She took a deep breath, straightened her dark blue jacket, and walked through the big glass doors of Westfield's main building. The lobby was all shiny marble and fancy art. Maya had visited many fancy offices before, but she still felt a little flutter of excitement. This meeting could change everything for her team. Walking up to the front desk, Maya put on her warmest smile. "Good morning," she said to the woman typing away at the computer. "I'm here for the 9 a.m. meeting with the executive team." The woman at the desk, whose name tag read Helen, didn't even look up from her screen. Her fingers kept clicking on the keyboard as if Maya wasn't there. Maya cleared her throat gently. "Excuse me, I have a meeting scheduled." "We're not taking job applications today," Helen finally said, still not making eye contact. Her voice had that bored, annoyed tone people use when they think they're talking to someone unimportant. "Oh, there's a misunderstanding," Maya explained politely. "I'm Maya Johnson, CEO of Johnson Innovation Labs. I have a meeting with Mr. Patterson and the board at 9. That made Helen look up finally. She gave Maya a quick once-over, taking in her professional outfit, her neat hairdo, the simple gold necklace, and her brown skin. A small smirk appeared on Helen's face. "Right," she said, dragging out the word. "And I'm going to be the next president." She let out a short laugh. "Look, we don't have any cleaning positions open, and the kitchens are fully staffed. You've come to the wrong place." Maya's chest tightened, but her voice stayed calm. "There seems to be a misunderstanding. If you check your system, you'll see I have an appointment. Maya Johnson, CEO of—" "Listen," Helen cut her off, lowering her voice and leaning forward. "I don't know who told you to come here or what you think you're doing, but you need to get lost before I call security. We don't have time for whatever this is." The words hung in the air between them. A few people walking through the lobby slowed down to watch. Maya stood there, her face a calm mask hiding the storm inside. She'd been here before, too many times. Different buildings, different faces, same story. Without another word, she turned and walked toward the exit, her heels clicking steadily on the marble floor. Once outside, she pulled out her phone and pressed a single number on her speed dial. "Alex? It's me," she said, her voice steady as she walked to her car. "The meeting's not happening, but I think we need to change our plans." She paused, watching the Westfield building in her rearview mirror as she drove away. "No, we're not going to partner with them anymore. We're going to do something much bigger." As she merged onto the highway, a small smile formed on Maya's face. Helen and Westfield had no idea what they had just done or who they had just turned away. Maya drove back to her office with the radio off, just thinking. This wasn't her first time being looked down on, not by a long shot. Every step up the ladder had been a fight. She still remembered how her parents would sit at the kitchen table late at night, counting coins and whispering about bills. They had come to America with nothing but hope and 2 suitcases. Her father worked 2 jobs, days at the factory and nights cleaning offices. Her mother sewed clothes and cooked meals for busy families. Every extra dollar went into a job labeled Maya's future. "Education is the one thing no one can take from you," her father always said. Maya studied harder than anyone in her school. While other kids played after classes, she solved extra math problems and built little computer programs on the family's second-hand computer. When the college acceptance letter from MIT came with a scholarship, her parents cried. Maya was the first in her family to go to college. But the real world wasn't impressed by her perfect grades or her MIT degree. At her first tech job, people mistook her for the secretary. In meetings, men would repeat her ideas and get the credit. One boss told her to tone down her attitude when all she did was correct a mistake in some code. 4 years at one company got her nowhere. 3 years at another ended when her boss's boss hired his nephew for the promotion she deserved. The next company was a little better until they asked her to sit out an important client meeting because the client was old-fashioned. "I'm not what they expect a tech expert to look like," Maya told her best friend over coffee one particularly bad day. "And I'm tired of trying to fit their expectations." That night, Maya couldn't sleep. Instead, she opened her laptop and started writing a business plan. She had been saving money for years, living simply in her small apartment. She had an idea for software that could change how businesses used artificial intelligence, making it simpler, faster, and more affordable. 3 years ago, with her savings and a small loan, Maya started Johnson Innovation Labs in a tiny office with just 2 computers. She hired a brilliant programmer named Lee who had been passed over for promotions because he was too quiet. Then came Priya, who other companies ignored because of her thick accent, despite her amazing design skills. Their first year was all ramen noodles and late nights. Their second year, their AI software caught the attention of 3 mid-sized companies. By year 3, Johnson Innovation Labs had grown to 30 employees and moved to a real office with actual windows. The business world finally started to notice. Tech magazines wrote about the new player changing the AI game. Johnson's software was saving companies millions by making their computer systems work smarter. That's when Westfield Technologies, one of the oldest and biggest names in the industry, called. They were losing customers to newer, more innovative companies. Their software was outdated. They needed Maya's company and its fresh ideas. The partnership meeting scheduled for today would have been worth millions. Maya and her team had spent weeks preparing their presentation, crunching numbers, and planning how their companies could work together. And now a receptionist who couldn't see past Maya's skin color had possibly ruined it all. Maya pulled into her company's parking lot and turned off the car. She sat for a moment, hands still on the wheel. Then she took a deep breath, straightened her shoulders, and reached for her phone. She wasn't going to let this stop her. In fact, she was just getting started. Wait, they did what? Lee's eyes went wide behind his glasses. The whole team sat around the conference table, staring at Maya in disbelief. "Yep. Didn't even check if I had an appointment," Maya said, keeping her voice steady. "Just took one look at me and decided I must be there to clean the place." Priya slammed her hand on the table. "That's horrible. We should call them out on social media. Let everyone know what kind of company they really are." "We could talk to a lawyer," suggested Raj from accounting. "That's clear discrimination." Maya held up her hand. The room went quiet. That was one thing about Maya. She never raised her voice, but people always listened when she spoke. "I didn't gather you all here to plan revenge," she said, looking around at the faces of her team. These people were like family to her now. They'd built something special together. "I called you because what happened today changes our business strategy." Maya walked to the whiteboard and picked up a marker. "Let's think about this clearly. What did we learn about Westfield today?" "That they're jerks?" Someone called from the back. Maya smiled slightly. "Yes, but more importantly, we learned about their company culture." A receptionist felt comfortable sending away someone without even checking who they were meeting. That tells us how they operate from top to bottom. She drew a line down the middle of the board. "We were going to partner with them. Their money, our ideas. But now I'm thinking." She wrote COM-PT in big letters on the right side. "You want to go against Westfield directly?" Lee asked, pushing his glasses up. "They're huge. They've been around for decades. And they're stuck in the past," Maya replied. "They needed our help because they're losing customers. Their software is outdated. And now we know their company culture is just as outdated." She started writing more on the board: market segments, product timelines, potential clients. "Instead of helping them catch up, we're going to leap ahead," she explained. "Our new AI platform is almost ready. We were going to let them sell it under their brand, but now we'll keep it and expand it ourselves." "That's a big risk," said Raj. "The partnership was a sure thing. This means more work, more money needed." Maya nodded. "I know. And I won't force anyone to take this journey. If you think this is too risky, I understand." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Lee stood up. "I didn't join this company for the safe option," he said. "I joined because you saw something in me when no one else did. I'm in." "Me too," said Priya. "We can do this." One by one, everyone in the room nodded or spoke up. Maya felt a lump in her throat but swallowed it down. Okay then, she said. Let's get to work. First, we need to speed up development on the new platform. Lee, can your team handle that? We'll work extra hours. It'll be ready. Good. Prior, we need a marketing plan that shows why our approach is better than Westfield's old school methods. On it. I've got some ideas already. They spent the next 2 hours planning, arguing, and problem solving. The energy in the room was electric. This wasn't just business anymore, it was personal. As the meeting wrapped up, Maya stayed behind in the conference room. She looked at all the plans on the whiteboard and felt a mix of excitement and fear. They were taking a big risk. But sometimes, she thought, remembering the receptionist's dismissive look, the biggest opportunities come disguised as obstacles. She picked up her phone and called their main investor. Hi Tom, it's Maya. We need to talk about some changes to our business plan. I think you're going to be very interested. The next few weeks were a blur of activity at Johnson Innovation Labs. The office lights stayed on late into the night, and the kitchen was always stocked with energy drinks and takeout containers. Maya had given everyone a clear mission, and they were all in. I found something interesting, said Lee one morning, dropping a folder on Maya's desk. 3 of Westfield's top developers just updated their profiles on job sites. Maya flipped through the papers. They're looking to leave. Seems like it. And they're really good, the kind of people who make things happen. Maya tapped her fingers on the desk, thinking, get me their contact info. I want to talk to them. By the end of the week, Maya had quietly met with 5 Westfield employees at a coffee shop across town. Each told a similar story. Good ideas ignored, promotions going to friends of bosses, and a company stuck in its ways. I've been trying to get them to update their security systems for 2 years, said one woman with bright blue hair. They keep saying it's too expensive, but they're falling behind everyone else. What if you had the freedom to build what you know is needed? Maya asked her. The woman's eyes lit up. That would change everything. By the following Monday, Maya had hired 3 former Westfield employees, including the blue-haired security expert. But she knew she needed more than just talent, she needed money. Maya's investor meeting was set for Thursday. She spent 3 days preparing, barely sleeping. This was their big chance. Our original plan was safe, she told Tom, her main investor, as they sat in his fancy office overlooking the city. The Westfield partnership would have given us steady growth. She paused. But I'm not interested in steady anymore. I want to change the game. Tom leaned back in his chair. What happened? Last month you were all about the partnership. Maya considered telling him about the receptionist but decided against it. This wasn't about hurt feelings. It was about business. I realized Westfield doesn't just have outdated technology, they have an outdated mindset. They can't innovate because they can't see past what they've always done, she explained. But we can. She showed him the new plans, a complete system that would make Westfield's main product look like an ancient relic. It would cost twice as much to develop, but could bring in 5 times the profit if it worked. It's risky, Tom said, studying the numbers. The biggest rewards usually are, Maya replied. She wasn't begging. She was offering an opportunity. Tom was quiet for a long time. Then he smiled. You know what? I'm in. But I want monthly updates, and if you miss targets, we revisit the plan. Deal? Deal, Maya said, shaking his hand. Back at the office, the team celebrated the new funding with cheap champagne in paper cups. To taking risks. Lee toasted, raising his cup. And to proving people wrong, added Pryor with a grin. As weeks turned into months, the company transformed. They moved to a bigger office to fit the new hires. The walls were covered with plans and sticky notes. The new security expert led a team building something that would make their competitors' jaws drop. Maya worked harder than anyone, often sleeping on the office couch. This wasn't just about success anymore, it was about showing what was possible when you gave chances to people others overlooked. One night, as she was leaving the office at midnight, Maya stopped to look at their company logo glowing in the dark office. 3 years ago, it had just been a dream after too many doors had been closed in her face. Now they were about to kick down some doors of their own. She smiled as she turned off the lights. The receptionist at Westfield had no idea what she had started. 6 months of hard work, late nights, and endless coffee later, it was time for the big tech conference. Every major company in the industry would be there, including Westfield. Nervous? Lee asked as they set up their booth. Maya adjusted the banner with their company logo. Not nervous. Ready. Their booth was smaller than many others, but it stood out with its clean design and bright colors. While other companies had flashy gimmicks, Johnson Innovation Labs had something better, a product that actually worked. The first day of the conference was busy but normal. People stopped by, took brochures, asked questions. Maya and her team demonstrated their new software, showing how it could solve problems that businesses struggled with every day. But it was Maya's presentation on the second day that changed everything. The room was packed. Maya walked onto the stage wearing a simple blue dress, her hair pulled back, no fancy tricks, just confidence. We've all heard lots of big promises about AI and what it can do, she began, looking out at the crowd. But most of these promises haven't come true. The systems are too complicated, they cost too much. They don't work the way they're supposed to. She clicked to the first slide. It showed a messy tangle of wires and boxes. This is how most companies approach business software today. Another click. And this is our approach. The screen showed a clean, simple design. For the next 20 minutes, Maya walked everyone through their new platform. She didn't use fancy tech words or complicated explanations. She showed real problems and real solutions. When she finished, the room was silent for a moment. Then the applause started. It wasn't just polite clapping. People were standing up cheering. Phones were out, recording and taking pictures. Someone shouted, "When can we buy it?" Maya smiled. "Today. Our platform is ready now." The crowd rushed the stage. Business cards were thrust at her from all directions. Her team at the back of the room was surrounded by people asking questions. By that evening, videos of her presentation were all over the internet. Tech blogs were calling it the most exciting product launch in years. 3 major companies had already signed contracts, including 2 that used to work with Westfield. On the last day of the conference, Maya was taking a quick coffee break when she noticed a group of people in Westfield shirts huddled around a phone, looking worried. One was on a call, speaking urgently. Later that day, she found out why. Westfield's stock had dropped 17% after news spread about Johnson Innovation Labs' new platform. Investors were selling fast, afraid that Westfield couldn't compete with this new technology. Did you see this? Priya showed Maya her phone that evening at their celebration dinner. An industry magazine had just published an article, Johnson Innovation Labs, the new billion-dollar baby. Maya nearly choked on her water. $1 billion? They think we're worth that much already. Apparently, Priya grinned. We're the talk of the industry. Back at the hotel, Maya sat on her bed, still in her dress from dinner. She should feel happy, but mostly she felt tired. Tired, but tired. 6 months of barely sleeping, of pushing herself and her team to the limit, it had all led to this moment. Her phone kept buzzing with messages and emails. Everyone wanted to talk to her now. Everyone wanted to be associated with the hottest new company in tech. She thought about calling her parents to share the news, but it was too late. Tomorrow. She would tell them tomorrow that their daughter's company was now valued at $1 billion. Maya smiled as she finally lay down to sleep. Not bad for someone who was mistaken for the cleaning lady 6 months ago. Part 6. The Reckoning. 2 weeks after the conference, Maya's phone rang with an unknown number. She almost ignored it. These days, everyone wanted something from her. But something made her answer. "Hello, Ms. Johnson. This is David Wilson, CEO of Westfield Technologies." Maya nearly dropped her coffee. She hadn't expected this call. "Mr. Wilson, what can I do for you?" She kept her voice neutral. "I was hoping we could meet. There are some matters I'd like to discuss with you." They agreed to meet at a coffee shop downtown, neutral ground. Maya arrived early and picked a table by the window. She watched Wilson walk in, looking around nervously. He was older than she expected, with gray hair and an expensive suit that seemed too tight around his neck. "Thank you for meeting me," he said, sitting down. He ordered a black coffee and drummed his fingers on the table while they waited. "Your presentation at the conference was very impressive," he finally said. Your company has made quite a splash. Thank you, Maya said simply. I actually wanted to meet with you a few months ago about a potential partnership, Wilson continued. But for some reason, you never showed up to our meeting. Maya studied his face. Did he really not know? Actually, Mr. Wilson, I did show up. You did? He looked confused. Yes, I was turned away at reception. Your front desk person told me to get lost before security was called. Maya kept her voice calm, stating facts rather than accusations. Wilson's face went from confused to shocked. I don't understand. Why would our receptionist? He trailed off as realization dawned on his face. She assumed I wasn't a CEO, Maya said. She assumed I was there to apply for a cleaning job. Wilson's face flushed red. Ms. Johnson, I am deeply sorry. I had no idea. This is completely unacceptable. It wasn't just unacceptable, Maya said, leaning forward slightly. It was revealing. That receptionist didn't come up with those ideas on her own. She reflected the culture of your company, a culture that couldn't imagine someone like me as a CEO. Wilson looked down at his untouched coffee. You're right, he said quietly. We have a problem. You have several problems, Maya replied. Your company culture is one. Your outdated technology is another. And now your dropping stock price is a third. Wilson winced at the mention of the stock price. Rumors were swirling that Westfield might not survive the year. Is that why you wanted to meet? To talk about your problems? Maya asked. Partially, Wilson admitted, but also to see if there's any way we could work together. Maybe not the partnership we originally discussed, but something else. Maya shook her head. That ship has sailed, Mr. Wilson. 6 months ago, I would have been happy to partner with Westfield. Now my company is on a different path. Wilson nodded slowly. I understand. But can I ask, what would you do in my position? How would you fix this? Maya hadn't expected this question. She thought for a moment. If I were you, I'd start by looking at who you hire, who you promote, and who you listen to, she said. Your receptionist felt comfortable turning me away because she'd never seen anyone who looked like me in a position of power in your company. That's not just her problem, it's a leadership problem. Wilson took out a small notebook and started writing. Go on, he said. Then I'd look at your technology. You're still trying to protect old systems instead of building new ones. The world is changing. Either you change with it or you get left behind. By the time they finished talking, Wilson had filled several pages with notes. He stood up to leave, then paused. Ms. Johnson, thank you for your honesty. I can see now why your company is succeeding where we've struggled. He held out his hand. And again, I truly apologize for what happened. Maya shook his hand. I appreciate that. Good luck, Mr. Wilson. I think you'll need it. The following week, Westfield announced a major reorganization. New diversity initiatives, new technology investments, new leadership positions, but the market wasn't convinced. Their stock fell another 5%. That same day, Maya received calls from 3 Westfield board members, each asking for private meetings. They all have the same question. How could they save their company from sinking? As she hung up from the last call, Maya thought about how quickly things had changed. 6 months ago, she'd been dismissed as nobody. Now, the same people who wouldn't let her through the door were begging for her advice. Life could be funny that way. 1 year later, Maya stood backstage at the annual Tech Industry Awards, trying to calm her nerves. The huge ballroom was filled with the biggest names in technology. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, and everyone was dressed in their finest clothes. You ready? Lee asked, adjusting his bow tie. He looked different in a tuxedo, more grown-up than the guy who used to wear the same hoodie 3 days in a row. As ready as I'll ever be, Maya replied, smoothing down her deep blue gown. From where she stood, she could see the Westfield table. There were new faces there now. David Wilson was gone, retired early after the company was bought by a larger tech firm for much less than it had once been worth. The new owners had kept the name but changed almost everything else. And the winner for Industry Innovator of the Year, the presenter paused for effect, Maya Johnson of Johnson Innovation Labs. The crowd erupted in applause as Maya walked onto the stage. The lights were bright, making it hard to see all the faces watching her. She took the heavy glass award from the presenter and stepped up to the microphone. "Thank you," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "This award means so much to me, but it doesn't belong just to me. It belongs to every person at Johnson Innovation Labs who believed we could build something different, something better." She looked out at her team, scattered throughout the ballroom at different tables. Pryor was wiping away tears. Lee was grinning like a fool. "When we started our company 3 years ago, people said we couldn't compete with the giants. They said we were too small, too new, too different." She paused. "But being different was our strength, not our weakness." Maya thought about mentioning what had happened at Westfield, but decided against it. This night wasn't about looking back at past hurts. It was about the future. In just 1 year, our team has grown from 30 people to over 500. We've opened offices in 3 countries. Our software is used by companies around the world. She smiled. And we're just getting started. Maya looked around the room, making eye contact with as many people as she could. The most successful companies aren't the ones with the most money or the biggest buildings. They're the ones that see talent in all its forms. They're the ones that understand different perspectives lead to better solutions. She held up the award. This isn't just about creating good technology. It's about creating a good workplace where everyone's ideas matter, where no one is judged by how they look, but by what they can do. As Maya left the stage to thunderous applause, she felt a weight lift from her shoulders. All those years of being overlooked, underestimated, pushed aside, they had led her here. After the ceremony, people crowded around her, offering congratulations and business cards. Maya smiled and chatted, but her feet were killing her in the fancy heels. She was about to sneak out for a break when a young woman approached her, looking nervous. "Ms. Johnson, I'm Zoe. I just wanted to say your speech was amazing." "Thank you, Zoe. Are you in tech too?" The young woman nodded eagerly. "Yes, I just started my own company 6 months ago. We're small now, but I have big plans." Maya saw something familiar in Zoe's eyes, that mix of determination and worry that comes with striking out on your own. She was young, probably in her 20s, with brown skin a few shades darker than Maya's and natural hair pulled back in a neat bun. "What's your company do?" Maya asked. As Zoe explained her business idea, software to help small businesses compete with bigger ones, her whole face lit up with passion. Maya listened carefully, nodding. "That sounds brilliant," she said when Zoe finished. "Do you have a card?" Zoe handed over a simple business card, apology in her eyes. "It's nothing fancy yet." Maya tucked it carefully into her evening bag. "I started with cards I printed at the library. You're already ahead of where I was," she smiled. "Is there any advice you'd like? From one founder to another?" Zoe thought for a moment. "How do you keep going when people don't take you seriously?" Maya looked at the young woman and saw herself from years ago, full of ideas but facing a world that wasn't always ready to listen. "Never let anyone tell you to get lost," she said. "But if they do, use it as fuel. Their underestimation is your opportunity." She gestured around the glittering ballroom. "And remember, success is the best revenge."